I guess it's just us today.
It's just us chickens. Good morning, everyone. And the other side.
and pains today
Where?
in my right arm.
Looking good.
You just like these harem pants.
I do like those. Hold this one. Sinus is crazy this morning. Lee circles. And reverse. And shoe circles. And reverse. And pain circles. And reverse. And reverse. and reverse. And good. Okay, we'll put away your sticks. It was really nice.
My practice has really changed since I had that realization.
Okay, so if you're going to tell us the story, start from the beginning.
Well, Barbara, last week I had this realization that we focus so much on the Dantian, finding the Dantian, experiencing the Dantian, that in my little pea brain, I sort of saw it as this energy ball sort of hovering in space. And I realized that that was really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to really experience the triangle, the arched triangle.
From where to where?
From both feet to the Dantian. And in my mind's eye, I have been seeing an arched triangle with large yellow balls of energy on each of those points, each foot and the Dantian. And it has really made my practice feel different.
How so?
One of the things I was thinking is that as an embodied spirit, maybe I'm finally deciding to come and be completely present on this
After 76 years, she's finally deciding to come to the earth.
It only took me 76 years, but better late than never.
Better late than never.
And just this feeling of structure. No longer as my mind focusing on a floating ball that I'm manipulating and trying to experience, but it is what's the mind's eye, the energetic picture in my mind's eye is this arch with a big ball of energy here and a big ball of energy on either foot and really, really connected to the earth.
I can tell that her stance, but also just her being has changed in the last couple of days. She's much more grounded than she used to be. And you can say, well, that's just a little trick of the mind. Well,
no, but your mind and your chi are the same.
Your mind and your chi are the same thing.
You change your mind, you change your confirmation.
Tell you what, you guys talk for a second. I want to get something because I want to make a comment on this. But I have to.
I want to ask if color. You mentioned yellow several times.
Oh yes.
Is there a color that is important, or is it just that the sun being energy is yellow?
Yes, I think I associate it with the sun energy.
Yeah.
Sun being yang, earth being yin. So in my vocabulary, it's definitely associated with the energetic power of the sun. Oh. And then I've got one here and on my feet. I've got one here in my hands, here. Yeah. I mean, we're just loaded with them, but I'm really been focusing on activating these three because I've always just felt really ungrounded.
Yeah. Oh, well, gravity. Gravity has a big influence on how I feel tethered to the earth, you know.
Yeah.
I've never been good at elevating, but I don't know if I call what I am grounded either. I feel like I'm tethered.
Well, tether's good. I think
Yeah.
I've also been doing a lot of digging in the earth.
Oh,
Gardening.
Yeah, gardening and squatting and being much more, my root chakra
Yeah.
much more
Oh.
open and available. So I think it's a combination of things. It
oh,
just so easy to get up here now in the springtime, and
yeah,
I've been spending a lot of time outdoors. And I think the activation of the sun through this tube into
yeah,
the earth and back and forth, uh,
right.
participated in me having that realization
Hmm.
that I mentally was just imagining the Dan Qian as this power center floating in space, and it's not
Mhm.
floating in space.
No,
I mean, it can,
it's,
I suppose.
If you were in outer space, it would be
be,
floating in space,
yeah.
and you would have a different relationship.
Yeah.
But we're on the Earth,
Yeah,
and gravity makes a big difference.
yeah.
Do you know what gravity is? Gravity is usually described as a force, one of the four major forces. But in fact, it's not a force. It's a bit of geometry, and as I've heard it explained, it actually has to do with time.
mm,
Right? Time changes the closer you get to the center of the earth, or
mhm.
you're away from the center of the earth, time changes. So the time for Annie's feet are different than the time for the top of her head, and same with me.
Mm.
It's time is actually moving slower at the top of her head than at her feet, and you can apparently actually measure that.
I read that.
And it's that time difference that distorts the structure of space, and that's what makes it feel like the earth is attracting you, but that's not actually what's going on. Okay, I wanted to say something about what Andy just said about this 3 point sort of structure that she's talking about. So from the Dan Chin to the bottom of the feet, and of course that's the horse stance. If you're going to do a horse stance, you have to have this point and the two bottoms of the feet, and that will make an arch if you just relax into it. Right? The kind of arch that you make is called a catenary arch.
Yeah,
Catenary is from a Latin word which means a chain. So what they would do, and this is just a little rope, right? What they would do is take a little rope and they would say attach one end to the ceiling, attach the other end to the ceiling, and just let it hang naturally. And that shape, right? That's a catenary arch. It's just the natural sort of way a chain would hang. Now you got to flip it over to become the arch that we stand on, but that's what it is. So it's not a perfect round mechanical arch. It's a very natural, flexible, organic arch, right?
And you know what else has been much more obvious to me in practicing is the third leg, the where the spine comes down,
right?
And create when I'm in the arch, I actually feel like I'm sitting on the third
exactly.
leg.
You can feel the third leg.
And what happens is I just feel a lot more stable.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a very strange feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's natural.
It feels natural, it feels natural.
And it's much stronger than feeling kind of ungrounded. When you're ungrounded, like unground yourself, right? Get your imagination to float the Dan Chan again and all this. Don't your legs and the whole structure feel more linear? And that,
yes, and they actually, because I'm so visual, they actually tend to disappear.
yeah, they're not strong. They're not strong anymore.
They sort of disappear.
So these straight lines, which sometimes it just seems like the natural way of being, are actually kind of weaker if you but if you sink and rest on that arch, wow, suddenly it's 100 times stronger.
Yeah.
You think about something we were, Jose had the Golden Gate Bridge
Oh, yeah.
up
Right.
on
Yeah.
Master Zhang. Golden Gate Bridge is so beautiful, and there's so many bridges now that are essentially built like a Golden Gate Bridge. And yet, Golden Gate Bridge is actually more beautiful than any of them. I think it's partly the color, just
And
the
the
natural
fog.
color,
And the two.
well, and the setting is very
Yeah.
beautiful, but etc. etc. It's a very, very beautiful bridge. Master Zhang used to say all the time to encourage us to do this kind of horse dance. He would say in his pidgin English, Golden Gate Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, right? That was his way of reminding us, stand in an arch. Of course, Golden Gate Bridge is upside down, right? But the idea of a catenary arch, of just that big line that's just forms very naturally, right? Okay, that's a lot of talk about the arch, but it's really important. There's another reason it's important. When when you're paying attention to the structure from foot to foot and up like that, it actually frees the Dan Chen to be able to turn and work. Otherwise, if it's just floating, how does it engage exactly?
Nothing to push off of.
But if you create this structure that's like a really firm foundation, oh, now the Dan Chen is rooted in the ground, but it's also free to move because the structure is holding it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I had to make a new life. Everything that I had in the past was contained.
What is that voice coming up?
Oh, that's my radio. I have a radio on in the back. Sorry.
I thought maybe we had something playing in the background.
No, I'm turning it off.
All right, so let's do the windmill, but let's get into it very, very slowly, right? So create an arch, right? Just kind of sit down naturally and feel the arch between your Dan Chen and the bottom of the feet, and just very gently move from side to side. Right? The arch is taking all the pressure, so to speak, and the Dan Chen really doesn't have much pressure on it. And the Dan Chen becomes the keystone of the arch.
Right.
And good. So I was watching Annie as she was doing that exercise, and for the first time, she's doing it correctly. Right? And by correctly, I mean she was well grounded. There was a good arch, and she was very relaxed in that. Right? It's kind of like the difference between somebody who's just learning to ride a horse and doesn't have a very good seat, and someone who has learned to ride a horse and does have a really good seat. All right. You watch equestrians. Someone who doesn't have a good seat looks like they're going to fall off the horse at any moment. Someone who's got a good seat, it's like they and the horse have become one, right? It's very much that same kind of feeling. How did it feel to you to do that exercise with this new awareness?
It did feel more relaxed.
Yeah, you just seemed more relaxed.
And the rest of my body seemed more relaxed.
Yeah, when you have this really firm foundation, everything can relax because you don't have to hold yourself up or control yourself. It's all right there, right? Another aspect of this, maybe that grows out of that, is how much more powerful you looked. To my eyes, it's like, oh, this person is physically competent in their body. Someone who's floating, which I used to do, as Annie can tell you, when you're floating, that is when you're not really well grounded. Yeah, you might be good looking, but you sort of look like you can't really do anything.
It has something to do with confidence.
Yeah, yes, also
it's some
confidence.
Aspect of confidence.
Absolutely.
Like I feel much more confident
because you are.
In this position.
When you don't have a good root, and that's what it's called in Tai Chi, when you don't have a good root, it's going to make you feel ungrounded. And the body feeling that goes along with being ungrounded is falling. I'm falling. I don't have a good foundation. A puff of wind could blow me away. And that makes you feel unnecessarily vulnerable in that way. And so you don't feel confident. You feel kind of unconfident. When you get a decent foundation, it's like, oh, okay, I got something to work off of that I feel really confident about because it's very strong. All right, let's do squats. Now squats are kind of interesting. Whether you do them, whether you sit down and just rub your knees, or whether you do a full squat like what I'm doing, pay attention to the arch and to the feeling of the ground, even if you're just sitting on your couch, Barbara. Feel that. All right, I'm still in an arch. Even when you're sitting on a couch or sitting on Annie's pillow, you're still in an arch. And then the right leg. And the left leg again. And the right leg again. And prayer position. Okay, hands on the knees, up slowly. Keep your head down a moment. So, Barbara, you probably have seen ancient Roman aqueducts, correct? Or
Yeah,
at least pictures of them, right? I've never seen one, but I've
no,
seen pictures of them.
right.
They're built with geometric arches. So the arch in a Roman aqueduct is half a circle. It's an actual circle. So they're very, very, very regular. They're very mechanical. That's not the kind of arch that we do. We do, like I said, what's called a catenary arch, but there are architectural catenary arches around. They're not super frequent, but they do occur. In really, really ancient buildings, often they're catenary arches. Um, do you remember the big arch in St. Louis?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a catenary arch. It's
Oh,
not a geometric arch, it's an organic arch, it's a natural arch. Do you know the Spanish architect Gaudi?
mhm.
All right.
Yep.
Almost all of Gaudi's arches are catenary arches. They're
Oh,
just natural arches. All right. In fact, I've got some pictures, so I'll rouse them up, and if you come tomorrow, we'll take a look at them. I think
I
this
have
is.
to tell you, I have a friend in Spain right now, and she sent me pictures of the Gaudi Cathedral
Oh,
in Barcelona.
yeah.
So I don't know how many arches that are in that building, but the coincidence of you talking about Gaudi and her in Barcelona, it's just must mean
Gaudi was
something.
Gaudi was an absolute genius.
Yeah,
Even though he's been past many years, I think he's still way ahead of the curve.
yeah.
His architecture is just something else, and the cathedral is definitely his masterpiece. It's just an unbelievably beautiful place, right? But a lot of other things that he designed are extraordinarily beautiful too. And I'm thinking of a relatively small four-story apartment building, and you think an apartment building, but when you look at it, it's absolutely
No.
gorgeous. All right. So I've got some pictures. We'll take a look
Okay.
at them tomorrow if you're
Okay. Okay.
okay. If you were at the retreat, you would have seen what I'm about to demonstrate here. But I'm going to have, we're going to demonstrate one of the little things that we did during the retreat. I'm going to have Annie push me, and I'm going to respond to this in two different ways. The first way is the wrong way. The second way is the right way. So Annie's going to come up. She's going to grab my elbows, and she's going to push. If I lean my shoulders backwards, she's going to just knock me over. That I have no. I'll just do it again, right? I'll sort of struggle, but eventually I'll fall over, right? That's because I'm going back shoulders first, which is what most people do. What you learn over time is you don't go back shoulders first, you go back butt first, to watch, right? So she pushes me, my butt's going back, but my upper body's hardly even, I'm releasing my arms, but my upper body's not going back. Now, she's got me in a bad position again, right? I'm just gonna come up and push it, but I would not be able to do that counterattack if I lost my grounding, if I lost by going back instead of going back butt first, kind of sitting down. This exercise, that's what you should do. Go back butt first. And reverse. And this is where the idea of your hips, your butt, your hips, kind of being on rails, right? They're on rails like a trolley car, and they just go back and forth like this. You don't really rise up or go down, you just slide back and forth. It's very easy, right? Now, when you do these shoulder exercises, the thing to think about is your central column. Think about, don't do anything to it, but just think about it. All you're doing is turning around that central column. You don't have to distort anything. It's very gentle. Now, the final thing is, don't forget your hip. Your shoulder and your hip are corresponding joints. So when your shoulder rolls, your hip should also roll. Once you get that really easy sliding back and forth, that really easy turning the waist a little bit, then you can add the movement of the arm in to open the palm. Open the palm. And the other side. And reverse. one of the things that one can practice when you do these exercises is not just practicing what's there, you also have to practice what's not there, right? So for instance, in these shoulder exercises, watch my elbow. It's empty. Now watch it again. That's full. Some of my mind is caught in my elbow. It's just a habitual way of moving, right? So when I raise my elbow, that's filling the elbow. There's nothing wrong with filling your elbow, but for this exercise, one of the things you're working on is how can I move my shoulder without filling my elbow, right? Why would you want to do that? Well, in Tai Chi as a martial art, one of the things you learn to do is to fill certain joints and empty certain joints.
Fill and empty.
And the emptying is just as important as the filling, right? Why is that? Suppose Annie came up and grabbed me by the elbow here, right? And my elbow is partly in here, it's totally empty. Push it. There's nothing there. There's nothing for her to push on. It's just empty. Now I'm going to partly fill the elbow. Now you have something to push on,
Yes.
right? When someone contacts you in a wrestling thing, they will deliberately try to make you fill certain joints. That may be conscious, they may be trained to do that, or it may just be intuitive that they know they need to do that. So they mess with your mind. They try to fill that joint. Why? Because now they can control it.
I'll try to avoid those situations.
You have to avoid those people. But this is the training in that, right? My wrist and my elbow are totally empty. That's actually quite hard to do. And reverse. So Grandmaster Feng used to say, as you go through this training regime over a number of years, he said what will happen is first you'll find your dantian, right? And then you'll find the bottom of your feet and your dantian, which is what Annie just did. And then gradually your dantian will actually grow. It will feel like it's growing like in the melon in the garden, and it will grow and grow and grow until you're really big. And then it will start to shrink. Shrink is not maybe the right word. It will start to condense. It's condensing, it's becoming denser and denser and denser and denser until it's no bigger than a grain of rice.
Oh.
That is called the single crystal of Huanyan Qi. Huanyan means original or primordial. Right? And he said when you achieve that, then you can move that little grain of rice to any place you want in your body. Right? It can move to your hips. It can move to your elbow. It can move to your shoulder. So training your body to be full or empty is part of that internal control. In a sense, it's not really like top-down control. It's more bottom-up control, if you know what I mean, right? Watching Annie today, this was a big breakthrough that she had.
Yeah.
Her practice has changed completely. So she's actually had a breakthrough, and she is stepping up from where she was to a much higher level of practice. Now she's going to practice there for a couple of years until the next breakthrough comes. However, to encourage her, I can say that as you have breakthroughs, the next breakthrough comes faster. All right, you have a breakthrough, then you practice a while. You have another breakthrough, you practice a while. But if you're consistent with it, the breakthroughs start to happen more and more quickly because you're building on those original understandings. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Do Ling. And touch the earth. And close your pores. Salute our masters and salute your classmates. Thank you, everyone. if you're staying, if you're staying for advanced Qigong, give me 15 minutes. Otherwise, we'll see you next.